So, what if pretty much everything you've learned about building a personal brand is, well, wrong? Today, we are diving deep into the playbook of entrepreneur Jeff Leong. This is a guy who went from being a professional magician to building a business empire. And he did it by breaking all the rules. And this right here is the claim at the very heart of his whole philosophy. Jeff argues that most people, most businesses, are chasing all the wrong things. Vanity metrics, fleeting trends, short-term wins. They're not building a personal brand, their personal IP that actually lasts. So what's the right way? Well, to get his method, we've got to go back to the beginning. You see, Jeff's journey didn't start in some fancy boardroom. Nope. It started on a stage with a deck of cards and the art of illusion. Get this, at just 16, he taught himself magic. By 19, he's a champion in Singapore. And this wasn't just some hobby. It was basically his entire education. Then, by 2018, he pivots to YouTube, and just 1 year later, he's co-founding successful brands while his channel is going viral. It was proof that his skills were way more powerful than just a few card tricks. And here is the absolute key. Magic isn't really about tricking someone's eyes. It's about guiding their mind. Jeff learned how to reverse engineer an experience. He'd start with the audience's final reaction, and then build the entire process backward to guarantee he got that reaction. And that became the exact same logic he used to create viral content. So, armed with this incredible understanding of audience psychology, Jeff's rise on YouTube was meteoric. But that kind of explosive growth came with a hidden price tag. The numbers were just staggering. Over 3 million followers across his platforms. He even became one of the fastest Chinese-language YouTubers to hit 1 million subscribers. From the outside, it looked like the ultimate success story. But on the inside, he was really struggling. He talks about years of insomnia, constant anxiety, feeling like he was a slave to the YouTube algorithm. He was just pumping out content based on what the platform wanted, not what he was actually passionate about. And that chase for views just felt so inauthentic, like he was literally selling a piece of his soul for success. That internal battle, that burnout, it forced him to create a completely new model, a sustainable, authentic way to build a personal brand that actually meant something. And he calls it the influence engine. Okay, so the framework is a really simple 3-step sequence. First, you attract traffic. But listen, not just any traffic, the right people who actually connect with your core message. Second, you build deep trust with that audience by just consistently providing real value. And only then, only after you've done that, do you earn the right to focus on conversion. He says this order is absolutely non-negotiable. Skipping straight to conversion is exactly why that 90% of businesses get it wrong. And this really shows you the core difference. The wrong way, the path he was on, is all about chasing trends, thinking short term. It's just transactional. But the right way is about playing the long game. You provide real value, you build a community, and you stay authentic. It's all about relationships. This quote right here, this gets to the absolute heart of that trust phase. It's not about how big your audience is, it's about how deep the connection is. 100 people who truly love and trust you are infinitely more valuable for a real business than 10,000 people who just kind of passively know you exist. But to build this business engine, Jeff first had to understand his own. And a personal diagnosis he received became the key that unlocked his greatest strength and honestly explained his entire career. Jeff was diagnosed with ADHD. Now, at first, it felt like a really dark time for him. But as he started to study it, he had this profound realization. He began to see his brain not as something that was broken, but as a high-performance engine, a Ferrari engine, that he just needed to learn how to drive. And this shift in his mindset, it changed everything. He stopped seeing his unique brain wiring as a flaw and started to see it as the source of his power. He realized the very thing that made him different was also what made him exceptional. And suddenly, the traits of ADHD mapped perfectly onto his success as an entrepreneur. That ability to hyperfocus, that's what let him master magic and YouTube in record time. His need for new things, new challenges, that's what fuels his creativity in all his ideas. And that competitive drive, it pushes him to be number one in every single field he enters. This self-awareness also began to shape his wider philosophies on business and life. And it led to some pretty powerful counterintuitive principles. He's a huge believer in this concept of qi kui, which you could translate as eating a loss. The idea is that the best performers, they understand that sometimes you have to give more than you get. What looks like a loss in the short term is actually an investment in trust, in relationships, and in future opportunities down the road. And this exact same mindset applies to failure. Failure isn't some dead end. It's just a data point. It's an experience that's meant to guide you, to put you on the right path. Because, hey, at the end of the day, you only need to get it right once. And finally, he learned this critical lesson in humility from the Asian superstar Jay Chou. When they met, Jeff was just blown away by how a global icon could be so grounded and respectful to every single person around him. It taught him that real strength isn't about your ego, it's about how you treat people. And all of this brings us to one final thought. Jeff Leong found his superpower by reframing what society might call a disorder. So it leaves us with a question to ask ourselves. What unique trait or habit or perspective do you have that you've been seeing as a weakness when it might just be the very engine of your greatest strengths?